What's up, everyone? Good morning, good evening, good night, whenever you are listening. Welcome to The Flip Side, a Get Your Teach On podcast where we break down, share, and challenge flip perspectives and insights on different hot topics in education. I am so excited for today's episode. Hope and Wade are here, and also one of my favorite people and very good friends, Josie Bensko from Maniacs in the Middle, is in the house, going to be joining us on a very hot topic. We're going to be talking all things social media, helping or hurting when it comes to teaching, the profession, just mental health in general at times. So we're so excited to dive into that and join us here on The Flip Side.
All right, you guys, before we dive into today's episode, since we are talking about social media, I thought it would be fun to do an unpopular opinion. So I did tell the guys right before we started this was going to be my icebreaker for today.
Yeah.
And they immediately pulled their phone. Well, Chris has his, I think.
Yeah, I have mine.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a real one.
I mean, I have
Like when you didn't look up.
Correct. I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion.
I think I have lots of unpopular
I
opinions.
think I might need a definition of unpopular
like
opinion,
that my
but I think I
protein
know.
chips are the best chips.
Yeah.
Even though everybody else thinks they're terrible.
That is
So I think I think that Starbucks is disgusting. Like I
Okay.
have a lot of
Okay.
unpopular opinions.
Okay.
But we were just talking, and we were actually, because of social media, we were looking at screen time.
Yeah.
And that's always fun. But my unpopular opinion, Josie and I were talking about it too, is TikTok is good for your mental health.
How is that a thing? That
For
has to be
me,
a joke.
that's why it's an unpopular opinion, because it's for me. I have specifically,
Coming from the woman with like 8 hours of screen time on her phone.
it's all about what brings you joy. I have specifically curated my feed. Whenever I got on TikTok, got on TikTok with the intention of I'm going to be on TikTok as Hope the person and not Hope the teacher.
Right.
And all of my other socials
Valid.
are solid education, teaching platform, all the things. Like, also I'm on TikTok and I never post, so there is no judgment that comes to me from being on that social media app.
And no notifications.
And no notification. So right there, that's all I need.
mean,
Yes,
But
you could-
then
yeah.
I've curated my feed
So
to
you
where
see-
it is all comedy, all clothes, makeup,
nothing crazy.
fashion,
It's true.
workouts, food. This is embarrassing. I can watch people make sourdough bread over and
Amelia
and
can't do it.
over.
Amelia has made me watch a sourdough video once.
There
and
is
was like
something-
so excited about it, and I was like, I don't get it.
There is something that
Is it the yeast?
What?
there is something that
Is
is
it- it's
calming
like
to
yeast or
me
something?
about it. I don't even understand, but I will laugh until I cry. I will pee my pants laughing. I don't even like comedy, but somehow on TikTok, it's the dumbest videos of like your best friend when so-and-so, such and such.
Oh my gosh.
I've sent you many of them and Wade too. Or
I
I'll be
ignore
like,
them most of the time.
I'll literally be dying. I'm like, oh my God, look at. So anyways, it's my time just to be human, I feel like. And it's not even, it's so weird because, well, I take that back. I was going to say it's not even a comparison thing. But then when I got on there and there's all, like, I do follow a lot of fashion, and all of these girls have been getting these like upper blephs, something with your eyelid. And I'm like, wait, do I need that? So I've had to check myself.
What is that?
I've had to check myself. It's like to remove, it's to
the
take.
fat thing.
Yeah.
On
And so
top of your eye?
I got a grip on it. Okay, I got a grip on it. But other than that,
I got that.
I
think.
find TikTok to be
I mean, I don't think
very
that's
good for my
unpopular. I
health.
think a lot of people enjoy the TikTok.
Find it healthy. Enjoy one thing. Good for your mental health, as she stated.
it puts me in a better
absolutely not.
mood. I'm just
Okay.
telling you. Okay.
I'm not ready yet.
Oh, jeez.
I'm not good at this. So I would love to hear what you have to say.
Mine, Hope kind of got into mine a little bit, but I think coffee is disgusting. Like, if I'm going to have coffee, it has to be like ice,
That's a lie
milk,
because Wade just put in a Starbucks order
but
for.
a million sugar. It has to be the sweetest thing in the world. Like, I don't have coffee every morning. I never
You
have.
also drink caramel fraps.
Correct. That's it. It has to be sweet. Like, actual coffee just as is
I don't think
I don't
that's an unpopular
understand it.
opinion.
Not a
That's-
coffee
I mean,
guy.
I would agree with. Like,
But everyone
I don't
drinks
like-
coffee.
because of the caffeine.
Oh, I don't drink it. I drink decaf most of the time.
It's just dumb.
I love the taste of coffee.
See, that's my point.
So then maybe
I
there's
hate
another
the
unpopular
taste.
opinion. Decaf coffee is supreme.
So wait. My mom.
Decaf
also
coffee
drinks
is
decaf.
ridiculous.
I have
Like,
high
there's
anxiety.
no
I can't
point.
be adding to my
But it
anxiety.
doesn't, like to
So
Chris's
you
point, it doesn't even
enjoy-
taste good.
It does not taste. Coffee
It
does
doesn't
not taste
do
good
anything for
unless
it.
you add 2 pumps of this, foam
think it
that,
tastes
2 pumps
amazing.
of that, 27.5 sugars, and
Right.
all the milk.
I think it
Yeah.
tastes amazing.
Like it
Right.
has to literally be this light color, and or else I'm not having it.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't.
that's
Yeah, there's
my-
no reason to drink coffee if it doesn't.
But everyone in the world, I mean, it's the when I tell people, like, people are like, oh, let's meet for coffee. I'm like, I don't do coffee.
Hmm.
So, like, that's
Sad
like,
for you.
That's like a life that is just like expected. Like, when you're an adult, you just like wake up and like have to have a coffee.
I drink-
Even Josie was like, this morning, she's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't even get coffee in the airport because my flight was so back to back. I had to wait till my second airport. I'm like, oh, that's something that people actually like think about.
And then
Like,
it
Speaking of
becomes a
coffee,
habit,
y'all
yeah.
wanted Uber Eats, and I think they just called me with the coffee that you wanted me
well,
to
I
get
did,
for you.
Hope ordered it. I mean, it
They're
doesn't
probably
that one just like
lost.
Christmas, but I'll have a little
But
sip.
maybe not.
You
I
should have
mean,
left your
but-
phone out there.
Exactly.
Okay, so do you have an unpopular opinion,
well, I
or are you
couldn't
just
look at it
always
'cause
popular?
I'm looking at the unpopular opinions that were on Google. I don't know. Oh man.
Everything you do is popular.
No, everything I do is everything I do is I don't know what's
Well, then
popular
just
and not
make
popular.
a statement about your life.
I don't. Oh, unpopular opinion. Underwear is overrated.
Oh my god! That I feel like a lot of people would agree with that as well. though.
Unfortunately,
Not
he's
me,
taught
but-
this to our son.
Yeah.
Also, well, okay.
Ballin'.
If so,
I wasn't gonna go there.
That
but if,
yeah.
I'll
so
go anywhere.
unpopular opinion. Socks are overrated.
Okay,
Oh, that's
And you
disgusting.
know,
That is
I
disgusting.
that is
hate
definitely an
socks.
unpopular
That is
opinion.
disgusting.
Oh,
If anyone
I
has
hate
ever worn
socks.
shoes without socks,
I hate socks.
I don't
so
care
much.
the feeling. It's the
Like barefoot is
stench.
fine.
The-
Barefoot
it's
is fine though.
it's gross.
okay, Fred Flintstone. Well, anyway.
Also, final unpopular opinion: sandals are just a no for everybody to me.
you just wore sandals in the last episode.
You did.
No, my toes were covered.
What?
Those were jellies, and they had a full coverage.
I saw your toes. They were painted.
No, you can
No.
barely see them peeking through. You
I-
don't see
I
gangly
disagree with
toes
that.
hanging out.
No, that is fine.
On guys, specifically. Sorry, I
Oh,
should have
Okay.
clarified.
Okay, that I do agree with. That I do agree
On
with.
guys.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Mhm.
All men should be forever required to wear tennis shoes. Or some form of full,
Okay,
full
I
coverage
could
on the
agree
feet.
with that. I was thinking more female, and I
Gross.
was like, no, I've seen a lot of people.
Okay,
that,
not
like,
sorry,
that
not
it looks
females,
great.
but
Yeah, okay.
yeah. men.
Okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the tea. There we go. All right, well, we're excited to dive into today's episode, so let's get to it. Why don't you just meet me in the middle? Josie Bensko is here, everybody.
That's a huge throwback.
I
That was
know,
like-
great throwback. You may
Yeah.
know her from social media, Maniacs in the Middle, our very good friend for a while now, literally.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen each other in quite a bit, so we are so excited. Josie Bensko is on the flip side couch, so welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course, we're so excited you're here. So go ahead, tell everyone a little bit about yourself if they don't know you, where you're from, and a little bit about Josie.
Hi, my name is Josie Bensko. I have been an educator for 9 years.
Ooh.
Just crazy. I feel like I'm still first year. But 9 years, and I'm from Bloomington, Illinois, which is in the middle of a cornfield. So I feel right
Right at home here. Yeah.
Literally driving, see corn. But yeah, and then I taught 6th grade science for the last 9 years, and this year I am transitioning to be a STEM educator, and I'm so
I love that. We're going to dive into that for sure. Now, a huge part of really your life and not just even your profession has been social media and putting things out there for teachers. You may recognize Josie from a lot of YouTube science videos and ads. I don't know if I can say the company or things like that. I don't know how that works, but whatever. But literally, your kids probably know Josie if you don't, because her ads pop up all the time. And I'm like, I'm friends with her. I know her. But that has been kind of a huge part of just your teaching profession in life. So we're so excited to dive in on social media today and just the impact of it for teachers, for education. Is it helping the profession? Is it giving people resources? I know when you started your platform, a lot of it, and I'm sure you'll get into it, was sharing ideas for middle school science, and even going down to elementary, and people will say, oh, I saw this idea from Josie, or things like that. But there's also a whole other side of social media that we're going to talk about. But why don't you just get started? Why did you even start in social media in the first
Well,
place?
first of all, though, before we even get into that,
Oh, we're going to go here.
yes, because Josie was sharing, which speaking of social media and just technology in general, Josie, what's your unpopular opinion?
Okay, yeah, I think my unpopular opinion is that we should get rid of technology. Like, kids shouldn't have Chromebooks, they shouldn't have laptops, they shouldn't have cell phones, any of it. I think if we went back to kind of the old way of teaching, I think it would help the kids' attention spans, because with the addiction of TikTok, like I fully have too, I feel like we have to keep switching things up in the classroom, and kids can't control their attention span for very long, and I think it has to do with them being on their computers all the time. So that is
I'm
my
on board
I
with
can
that.
co-sign
unpopular
that.
opinion.
I can co-sign
Yeah.
that.
I'm
but
sure a lot of people would not. Now,
Correct.
it's like, because
I can see parents and
other-
students going.
Yeah.
the argument, and it's not even from parents and students, teachers, the argument is if they're going to have technology in their world, they need to learn
Right.
how to use it and learn how to use it appropriately and all of that. And that's what I think a good technology class would be for. But
Agreed,
but I know
agreed.
other
Like a
people would
computer lab
disagree.
still.
Yes.
Or maybe it
Yes.
should be like up
Stuff.
until the end of middle school, and then high school, then they can get that. But I feel like
But also, it's not being. I mean, I'm sure there are teachers that are using it effectively, but there's no way in the whole school day they're using that
And they're gonna
device.
say-
to
oh, the
an
amount of
advantage
times that the
learning.
kids are on computer games in my classroom,
Correct.
I'm like,
If
ugh.
they're going to have it at home, they
Yeah.
might as well have it at school.
Yeah, and I've had first
They,
graders like
I
on
don't
another
know.
tab that are like
Yeah.
listening to like Spotify. I'm like,
they're so
"You're
sneaky
six."
about
Like,
it.
how do you-
Yeah.
Oh, map. Yeah,
five.
exactly.
And he can film YouTube videos,
Yeah,
practically upload
for
them,
sure.
and he has a whole Spotify playlist.
You can do that
So
right at home.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes,
Right at home.
kids
Good.
can do a lot, and when you have that many kids with that many devices, to me, that's just a
Agree.
recipe for disaster.
And
But-
coming from people that are all on social media and use technology, I
Mhm.
still have that opinion. I still feel like there are good parts of it, but then I feel like back some control.
yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
And the final thing, because she
Yes.
And I love.
I'm
she
so
literally walked into
embarrassed
the
when I
room.
walked in. I'm like, does anyone have
Sandals,
another pair of shoes that I can
sandals.
wear? Because the dogs
No,
are out.
the dogs are
Holy-
out.
The
What?
She's
dogs
just
are
thinking of
out.
Wade and I mean, I was
because
literally looking
I
at
have
her.
sandals in there. I wear
I know.
sandals.
I was looking at her like she had 7 heads. I'm like, you are a hypocrite if you said that no one in the world should wear sandals. I literally saw you wear sandals
I meant to say
2
that.
seconds ago.
And I know somebody's gonna be mad at me for saying that. But Josie, then share what happens in middle school. So just so everybody
Yes.
knows.
So I told them, I'm like, I never wear sandals to school because kids will make fun of you, especially in the middle school.
Middle school.
It was 2 years ago when all this started, and kids would start barking in class. And I'm like, what?
What do you mean? What do you mean by barking?
Please don't clip that. That's so embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the social clip for this episode is just going.
Yeah.
That's it.
That'll get
Literally.
views. That'll get views. So they start barking. I'm like, guys, what is going on? Like, I'll pull a kid to the side who's like, I'm close with, looking at me. And she's like, Miss Bensko, your dogs are out. I'm like, my dogs are, I don't, at that point, I'm like, I don't have a dog. What are you talking about? And she was like, your feet, your toes, your dogs are out. I'm like,
Your hot dog toes.
so I no longer wear
Oh, middle
open-toed
school is
anything to
brutal,
school.
man,
Yeah.
for the teachers and the kids. I'm telling you, I grew a thick skin when I
Oh,
was.
And then
yeah.
there's adults who are like making millions of dollars from their sandal picks. So there,
I
there's
mean,
that
right,
too.
right?
You never know.
There's-
There's an audience for everything.
On
There
the
is.
flip side,
Exactly.
of
On the
it,
flip
yeah.
side of that is
Yeah.
post a pic and you may be a millionaire. I don't know. I've never tried it, but not opposed to it if you know where to start. I don't know. I mean, you never know. You never
Okay,
know.
I just had
Okay.
everybody needed to hear all of that information. Now
Yeah.
we can proceed.
Yeah.
No,
All right. So social media, diving into, talk about kind of where your journey started with that.
Yeah.
And kind of how you got into social.
Okay, so it was my first year of teaching. So 9 years ago, I remember following a bunch of people on Instagram. I found all of your stuff on Pinterest from your old
From my
website.
blog?
Yes, literally.
The OG,
Literally,
Yeah.
yes.
the grandma blogger.
That's so mean. No, but that's honestly who it was. It was you, and it was like, I remember Miss Fifth and Miss West specifically because
Yeah.
they are Illinois teachers, and it was their second year of teaching, and I remember following them and just being like, that is so cool what they're doing. I got so many ideas from them, but then I was like, there's nobody that does this that is a science teacher, and I
Yeah.
just felt like I could help so many teachers, even being so young. I just felt like there was a need for that, and so that's literally how I started social media. Was I just wanted to share my classroom with other teachers, whether that's 5 people or 10 people, and then over time it just turned into something that I could have never imagined before in such a positive way. But it really just started with trying to help other teachers and share my classroom with
And I
people.
think social media for teachers everywhere, and I'm
Yeah.
sure other careers or areas also use it as well. It's almost like a search engine of like things that we
Yes.
want to do. So you find something you really like, and you're like, oh, I want to do that just for either inspiration, like you said, or ideas, or it really does. It's like mini PD almost at
It
times
is.
because you can take something and then adapt it to fit your needs very easily. And otherwise, you would probably be searching a very long time for unique ideas that
Right.
people are doing or just seeing what they're doing. So I love that, even as a new teacher, that
Yeah.
you were like, you know what, let me just share it because what's the worst that could happen?
Yep.
And
I
kinda
remember
take it
being
from
so
there.
embarrassed of anyone that I knew in my personal life finding 'Cause
Yes.
I made a new account. It took me
Actually,
for
It's like your
I
alter
still feel this
ego.
way.
yeah,
I still
it
feel
took me
this way.
forever to come up with a name, and then it was my mom helped me, and it was Maniacs in the Middle. And then
How did you get to that name?
well, I'm a middle school teacher.
Yeah.
And everyone always says, you know, when they meet you out in public, they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And like, "Oh, I teach middle school." And they're like, "Ugh, like
Yeah.
I could never do that." So I'm
Right.
like, only
Maniac.
Yeah.
maniacs
Yeah.
teach middle schoolers. So
Yeah.
that's how it came about.
Oh, cute.
But it's also, I feel like this teacher social media world is something that you don't understand unless you're in it or you find it. Because you talk to other people and they're like, there are teachers.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
weird
Like,
subculture.
you know what I mean? It's
the
Yeah.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many people don't know about it.
Yeah, and through that, I mean, you've always shared ideas, resources. I mean, I'll even talk to people at conferences that'll be like, if you see Josie, can you please tell her that I still
Uh-huh.
do this? Like,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
assigned, like all these different things,
Yeah.
like from
Mhm.
even your first few years teaching, which are things that you
Mm-hmm.
now do with your students throughout, and there's new things there. But how do you choose to share? Because not only do you share lesson ideas, but especially over the last few years, as you've grown into your career and you've been more comfortable there, you've shared a lot of like your personal life and things like that as well. So how do you choose like what goes on social media? Because I know for some people it's like perfectly curated. It's oh, I'm only going to share this or only going to share that, but you really have a large variety of things that you now share. So how did you kind of transition from just this lesson in my classroom to kind of where you are now, where you also have you have a huge teacher base, but you also have a lot of people looking to you for recipes or fashion or things like that, which is just naturally come there. And it's a whole nother world of opportunities. So honestly, you would be dumb not to take advantage of those opportunities because it's a whole world there. So how did you kind of make that transition?
It honestly came naturally. I would just be posting in my classroom or posting my lessons for the day, and someone would be like, "Where's your shirt from?" And so then I would link my shirt.
I get that all the time. No, I'm just kidding.
Or I would be talking about a lesson, and they're like, "What mascara are you using?" And I obviously love all of those things. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, wait, people actually want to know those things. It's
Yeah.
okay for me to share these things." At first, I was terrified because I was like, I just made this account solely for teaching purposes, and that's really what it was going to be forever and ever and ever. But then I always wanted to do these other things, but I thought I couldn't on this teacher platform. So once people started asking questions and started wanting to know all these things, that's when I felt more comfortable to try and transition into a little bit of the lifestyle content as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is your favorite thing about social media and having specifically having a platform on social media?
It's a hard one. So many things. I mean, I truly would not be sitting with you guys if it wasn't for social media because you make so many friends that turn into real life friends. Having a platform to just share what education is like these days is also really good. I feel like even though I'm technically not in the classroom for this 1 year, I still want to be an advocate for teachers and I still want to help teachers. And so having a platform that can hopefully make a difference, that's a huge thing that I love as well. But I just love connecting with people and sharing ideas, whether it's a teacher idea or whether it's my favorite outfit or my favorite shoes, just connecting to people on a personal level and being like friends with them, even though you've never met them. Like
I
that
think
too.
it's really social media is about those connections and like
Yeah.
things that you have in common with someone and things like that, which is literally, I can probably count on the people on my hand in my life that are close to me that are not from something
Social
on
media.
social media of some sort. Like even opportunities I've been presented and people I've gotten from those. Like when I
Yeah.
taught in Harlem, it was become someone on social media said, "Hey, we have this opportunity."
Exactly.
I would have never done that if we hadn't connected there. And then those are my best friends back in New York that I ended up teaching with, but that all started from social media and sharing out things I was doing, and just the opportunities that present themselves are huge, but it really goes down to connections and that community and talking. But another side of that community, there's these great things, but there's always someone that's going to have something to say on that kind of social. And I know, and we've had many conversations offline over the years about different
Yeah.
things on social media and kind of the negative aspect of it. But how do you tolerate that kind of?
Can I ask a question before we
Yeah.
get into that?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of leads into this.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm just curious because I feel like even in me talking about TikTok, I'm like, it's so sad that I love education so much, but I went to TikTok and purposely curated a feed
I know.
Yeah.
that had nothing to do with education.
Yeah.
What does that say
Yeah.
about a
Says
lot of
so
what's out
much.
there? So when it comes to, let's just talk Instagram, because I feel like that's probably one of the most popular for teachers. I mean, I know there's teacher TikTok and all the things, but when you think of teacher Graham, because I'm sure that you have probably stepped back from certain things, your feed has changed over time, but what you're currently seeing in your feed when it comes to education, what are you noticing about the posts? Are they positive? Are they negative? Are they helpful? Are they insightful? Are they something that would scare everybody away from? What are you noticing when it comes to teacher grade?
Well, it's funny that you say that you kind of curated your TikTok to be away from education. I feel like I'm slowly starting to do that.
Mm-hmm.
With Instagram, I feel like I only, follow and keep in touch with friends that are teachers on there now, because I feel like as an educator, I have changed so much within the last 9 years. I mean, teaching used to be 100% my entire life. I would eat, breathe, sleep, dream about teaching. And that's great. And at that time in my life, for the first 5 years, like everyone in my friend group was all in the same areas in life. But now as you get older, I'm like, okay, it doesn't have to be my entire career. Yeah. It can just be a job, but still something that I love. And so I feel like with teaching not being everything, that's kind of when I was okay with sharing other things as well. Because when I got home from teaching all day, I didn't want to then look at my phone and see teaching things.
Yeah. And there's more to Josie than just the teacher or making the science ads on YouTube. Like there is more behind that.
I mean, I just kind of want to double down on something you said earlier too, not to interrupt you, but I do want to validate, like, when you were talking about you starting to post, you have your thing, and then people started asking you about, hey, where'd you get this shirt from? What I like that's because, just like Chris said, you've created a relationship with these people, and they see themselves in you, and it's really cool, and they want to hear from you, and it's a different space.
Trust you, like that trust is huge.
One thing that we're all about is prioritizing that human, and that's exactly what you're talking about now. I mean, teaching is part of what we do. It's not the whole thing, but people can identify with you in those aspects, which is really cool. And you still have that platform for them. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And it's funny because now I look at younger teachers on social media and I'm like, that was me. Their entire life is teaching, and I see myself in them so much, and I'm so happy that there are a new wave of educators that have that passion, because we need to continue creating those new waves of passionate educators. Even though I still love teaching, it's not 100% my life anymore. Yeah. And so I feel like over time, I was so nervous to switch to and integrate some of those lifestyle things, because I'm like, that's not why I made my Instagram. But then once I realized that I'm a whole person and teaching everything, and I love outfits, and I love cooking, and I love working out, and I love teaching, so I can integrate all of those things. So my Instagram feed for teaching specifically is mainly people who are in the same space as me, and so they do a little bit of teaching, they do a little bit of lifestyle, but then on my platform this year specifically, I really tried to show what education is like these days, how education has changed specifically since COVID. And so with me being honest also comes the negative side.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to also ask you this, and as we kind of dive into the flip side of Teachergram, or just Instagram in general, when you started sharing, because I followed your account and followed you closely for so many years, and we've known each other for so long, but when you started sharing things that were outside of the education world, whether it be fashion, whether it be clothes, what was the response from everyone? I mean, I know there obviously are people who love it. Did you receive any other type of feedback about you sharing things outside of education?
No, at least not in my comments or my DMs or to my face. Yeah. Like maybe,
because I have seen that.
Yeah.
I have seen, and I'm like, to your point, I'm like, anybody who says, because Wade has gotten comments on like your jujitsu stuff, or nobody cares about that.
Yeah, I've got comments as well. When I started the surrogacy journey, people would be like, I follow you for teaching content.
Yes.
Well, first of all, this is my personal account. It says nothing about teaching any, like right now, it says Chris Bombani, like that's what it is. But also like, that's my life. So you can unfollow if you don't want to do there.
Now that you guys say this. Okay, so yes, but when I first started doing little inklings of it, it was mostly positive.
Yeah.
But when you started influencing.
Yes, I'll get comments every now and then that's like, I miss your teaching content. I miss your classroom ideas. And that breaks my heart. Yeah, and that's terrifying. And especially when I just posted that I'm switching to do the STEM education role, and it's not a traditional classroom role. I was terrified that all the comments were going to be that. And there was literally only one. And I just replied, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I've changed.
Who was it? Let us know. No, I'm just kidding.
Her Instagram was at.
Yeah, exactly.
She deleted her comment.
Of course she did. Yeah. Anytime. I have so many questions. This is going to be like a 3-hour episode. But anytime in the comments that someone would say something like that, you respond in a professional,
I was so
mature,
nice.
exactly,
Yes.
and not just you, anyone.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it gets deleted because they're like, oh, I take it back. Like you can't do that in real life once you say something. So, but continue.
I was just like, I've been sharing my journey for the last 2 years in education. I think it's time we part ways. And she deleted her comment.
Yes. So now your response is near there as well.
No.
But do you feel, and I want to go back to the new teacher thing that you said too in a second, but do you feel like with such a large platform, and obviously you have grown this platform because people want to follow you. Like you're not saying, oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this many followers. I can't wait for that. You're not, people are following you for a reason, obviously. That's the reason that you've grown the platform that you have. That's the reason and influencing is a whole nother side that we'll talk about, I'm sure, in a little bit. But that's the reason why brands trust you to share your message, because people trust your voice. People trust the message that you're saying. So that's there for a reason. But do you feel like there's like an expectation that you have to uphold on your platform because of the large following or because of the things you do? Do you feel like there's like this pressure or like this expectation to either act a certain way or do a certain thing, or have you ever kind of felt that way?
For a while, I did for sure. Whether that was, sharing every single thing in my classroom and going above and beyond and doing a crazy lesson to share it on Instagram, I'm totally guilty of that. Did I still do crazy lessons this year and my fun ones and decorate my classroom and I didn't post them on social media? Yes.
Yeah.
And then
No, that's good. I think there is a kind of expectation of I need to do all these things, but what does that kind of look like?
And then also just with the fact of I used to only talk on Instagram stories when I had a full face of makeup and my hair done. Now I could care less. But
But you felt like
for a while I
correct.
did. Yeah. And I would use all those crazy filters and now I try not to do any of that.
Yeah. And then on the new teacher side that you were talking about earlier, since teaching has shifted and education has shifted and we're seeing things, and people are now entering the profession in the world of TikTok being a thing and Instagram, and so many teachers, including yourself even, sharing kind of a different narrative of education. Do you think that's hurting new teachers coming in? Do you think that they're going to be seeing this and be like, should I change my major? Should I get out of the like what should I do? Seeing this kind of on social media, really everywhere. There's so much out there.
That is my biggest fear when I started to talk about education and how it's changed and how kids have changed specifically since COVID. My biggest fear was people would be like, oh, you're trying to get people to not be teachers, or, you're putting a negative outlook on education these days. And so I tried really hard and I tried to tread lightly of, okay, this is actually what's happening in education. Yeah. Teachers are not okay right now, but also try not to be so negative that people take it the wrong way or people don't go into education. So that fine line was really, really hard for me this year, specifically because I feel like I struggled a lot with that.
But I think because it's authentic. Like it is you, and people know your personality.
And the good thing was whenever I would share those things, I would only do it on my stories. I didn't want the actual post, but I would get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages of people feeling the exact same way.
Yeah.
And people being like, finally someone is saying this. Finally someone is talking about it on social media. So that made me feel so good to know that me sharing it makes people feel like they're not alone. But then, we can just talk about it. I did get parent emails about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
I know.
We didn't know we were going there, but I think people need to hear kind of the real story, but
And it was hard. So for the first time that I know of, at least, it was one night I shared that it was a bad day at school. I did not share any specifics. I make sure I try not to talk about kids on there. I don't talk about my school, like anything with it. I just try and talk about education in general. Yeah. And that's what I did. I went home that night and I recorded a story. I don't even remember right now the specifics of it. And then the next day at school at lunch, my principal walked in my classroom. And I was eating lunch in the dark by myself in my room with my room locked.
Classic. Classic teacher life.
Yeah. And she sits down and she's like, let's talk about your Instagram. And I'm like, I feel like everyone in my district knows about my Instagram right now. Like my superintendent follows me. Everyone in the unit office follows me. Everyone is very aware, which is good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what did I do? I could not rack my brain about what I did wrong. I'm like, did I post a glass of wine? What did I do?
Do you need some advice?
Yeah. Like, do you want to start your own Instagram? Yeah. Like, what's happening?
Use code Josie 10.
Yeah. And she was like, well, I got the superintendent and I got an email a couple emails from some parents last night about your Instagram stories and about how you have a negative attitude about education. And at that time, it was right before I was getting a student teacher. And she was like, they're concerned that you shouldn't have a student teacher this year because of all of your feelings towards education. And I lost it. Cried. And then I had to go teach in 10 minutes. But I was just so frustrated because I was like, that is why I want a student teacher, because we need to build up teachers so that they don't end up like me crying in the classroom or they don't have these negative feelings. Like, we need really good educators. And I feel like I had so much to teach her, and we had a great semester together. And it just crushed me that parents thought that about me. And thankfully, my principal stood up for me. And she said, you would have no idea that Josie has these feelings inside the four walls of her classroom. Right. She just shares them as a diary on her social media. But in her four walls of her classroom, she is the exact same teacher that she was 8-9 years ago. Yeah. And so thankfully I had that support, but it was the first time where I was like, am I sharing too much negative things? Am I being too honest on social media? That was the first time where I'm like questioning myself.
Do you think you were? What are your thoughts?
I wish I could go back.
Do you remember what it? Yeah.
No, I wish I could remember what it was, but like I said at the time, I couldn't even wrap my brain about what I did wrong.
Well, teaching is very different, even since we've started teaching.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you feel emotional about something, I mean, we have that access right there, and being real and transparent, but then also
the fine line.
Like, oh yeah, right, it's hard.
And then I also was crying because I'm like, I don't have kids. I don't know what it would like to see my child's teacher on Instagram talking about how she had a terrible day.
But you're thinking about that anyway,
so
you already think it's not like you're not aware of that.
Here, this is hard, and this is like, again, what all the sides of this are about, because I do feel like social media is harming from the standpoint that individuals feel like they cannot show up authentically.
Yes.
Like, oh, if I'm going to be on social media and I'm going to be this educational influencer, I've got to show up every day and have a great day. I've got to show up every day and have a great lesson. I've got to show up and have the most cutting edge ideas. When in reality, the reason I started my account was to show authentically what I was doing, not to be something that somebody else wanted me to be or needed me to be. Like, I'm not trying to be what you need me to be, and there is an unfollow button if I'm not serving you in that way, you know? And so I totally I have my own very strong feelings about Teacher Graham right now. Because I do feel, I will. I'm very excited about this episode. No, because I do feel like there are people who aren't treading that fine line. And here's the deal. If they're showing up authentically as themselves and they are that miserable, then maybe it is time to move on from their profession. And not you specifically. And I want to talk about that too. But I'm like, I do feel like it gets to a certain place where I don't even know. I just feel like I'm not trying to tell people not to show up authentically. And I think, and obviously I follow you. And I agree that there needs to be conversations, because I never want for teachers to feel alone. Yeah. But if teachers are also constantly just getting on day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out, how awful everything is, that's where it becomes very harmful to the profession.
Also, I think when the message shifts from you being authentic and sharing your story to I'm now spreading this message of consistent, this is how it should be. This is not doing this. We're not seeing this. We're not seeing this on the day-to-day. Like, you're sharing a specific story in that, but then you're going to be doing something with your students or at coffee, or someone wrote this note, or this is what the girl said at lunch today. Like, you're sharing kind of the timeline of it, and there's going to be like the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's like authentic there. But I think where the problem kind of lies is when you cross over that line of, now this has become my whole identity of that.
Thank you.
And some accounts do turn into that. And I know what you're talking about.
Just like a teacher gripe account.
Correct.
And that's a great
against
thank
admin,
you.
I feel like I see that more on TikTok.
About anything. Yes, especially I see on TikTok too. But I do see like a lot of like, I don't know, it's a balance, because on TikTok, I mean, it's probably my algorithm now, and I'm barely on TikTok, but it's like more funny teaching things that are goofy, and it's like Gabe, he's a middle school teacher, and he's like just like goofy, like just like funny and goofy. Obviously, he's not there to like for professional development or things like that. Right. Things he still is doing in his life, but that's like what his creator thing. But I think it's important for people to realize that these are personal accounts. It's not like your school has handed you this account and now it's your responsibility to fulfill this account. This is an account created to share resources, things like that. I think teachers are always held to this high standard, as they should be for things, but it's also your personal account. Like, you know that people are seeing it, but it's you as a human
Yeah.
with real feelings and real emotions and real things going on. It's not that you've created a brand, but it's not this like, you're still a human and you have
Right.
feelings behind
Right.
these things.
And I want to
And
stay there
I-
for just a second because I'm so glad that you said what I was trying to say and couldn't find the words.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being in my head.
Of course.
No, but that is exactly what my issue is when the whole account identity just becomes about how awful education is.
Yeah.
So going back to the parent thing, because
It's like
now-
they're trying to capitalize.
Yeah.
off
Yeah,
of-
like
Yeah.
you're
They
trying to
just
rally
need
the troops
attention.
mentality.
Yes,
like,
and-
let's see how many people can
we
also agree
get
with
to
me.
hate
And yeah,
the job.
Yeah.
just because. Just
So-
because.
Be
Obviously,
And I
negative.
feel
that's
like that
not
can
what
happen
you
in a
have. Yeah.
school building too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
You know?
yes.
Same thing.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
Same thing.
I mean,
It's very
people.
toxic.
It's
but-
easier for people to capitalize off of fear. I mean, look at.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
that's ISIS, terrorist groups, politicians. Those types. It's easier to do that, and so I mean, it's easy to gravitate.
But I want to go back to this parent thing because when you said that, like, I'm not a parent, and I obviously now am a parent of a 5 going on 15-year-old. But to be honest with you, and looking at what you share, because again, your account is so much more than just education, but I feel like you also do share, maybe not every day or every week, but all of the great lessons. It's very obvious how much you care about your kids. If I were a parent of a child in your class, I would be thinking, oh my gosh, she's working so hard
I
for
would
my
too.
child. How can I help?
Yeah, and I do want to say
Like-
overwhelming, that is the response.
Yeah.
But
Because you also
I'm
have
the
how
type-
many students in
150.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am also the type of person that if there's one negative comment, that's the one that I
1000%.
look at,
Yeah.
you know?
But I will say, on the other side of that, there are many teachers on Instagram. I would pull Maverick King out of their class.
Yes.
So, and it's
Yeah.
those accounts that
Yeah.
every day their sole account has become dedicated to talking about how bad education
But
is.
also,
I would
they're not
never
doing.
let my child be
They're
in that
not
class.
killing it like your principals backed you up and said
Right.
you're doing this. Your students would also
Right.
say that. You know,
I know
I
that-
can
yeah.
tell, and I've never been to your school. I've never been in your classroom. I know you build incredible relationships with your students, and they trust you,
Yes.
and they love coming to your class.
Yes.
Like that is completely evident.
There are just negative
from
people
day
that
one
will
till
find-
now. So I know
yes.
they're not going home. Oh my gosh, Miss Bensko made us do. They're not doing that,
Well,
but there are teachers who the kids are going home saying like this happened and this happened, and
you're
then
like,
they're
oh my
sharing
gosh,
about it.
what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the reality of
Well,
it.
well,
so-
it goes. I mean, it's as simple as what we're talking about with the identity of her account.
Yeah.
Like her identity of her account isn't fear and horrible and negative and da-da-da. No, that's not the identity of what. where
Yeah,
she's
and so
coming
then when I made my little announcement that I wasn't doing, I'm taking a year leave and doing the STEM education role, I was terrified that people are going to think like, oh, just another teacher that's leaving the classroom, and I'm going to try and encourage teachers to leave the classroom now, and that is the absolute last thing that I want to project from my account right
Do you think this might be? I hope this is not like a.
now. Oh gosh, what are you
corner
about to ask?
question. Do you? Because I know that people are curious about these types of
Yeah.
things with influencers, especially teacher influencers leaving the classroom, and I think that pressure should never be put on them, just because they started their account as a teacher influencer, not to do what's best for them. Do you think that you would have left the classroom if you had never started Instagram and been like a teacher
Oh.
influencer?
That's a
Oh,
good
I mean,
question.
I could not financially. That would not
Yeah.
be an option. I
Yeah.
could not leave
Yeah.
the classroom.
yeah.
But even with your
Yeah.
STEM, like, do you think you would have sought other opportunities, maybe
I
in
think-
education, but not?
I think I would have tried to find a different position. I feel like I'm just too comfortable right now. I've done the same thing for 9 years. I've taught 6th grade science for 9 years. And a lot of the teachers in my building are like, oh, the 10-year itch, the 10-year itch. I've never changed grade levels. I've never changed
Yeah.
subjects. I've changed schools once. I feel like I need some sort of change. So I feel like even if I didn't have the social media thing, I feel like I would probably try to find a change, whether that's a new district,
Yeah.
a new building, a new grade level, some kind of change.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but also I
Long
feel,
time.
and I'm glad you brought up the influencing thing, and like that is a real thing. I think a lot of pressure is put on influencers, and I'm not influencer. I make, if I post a code, it probably is like 0 cents like I would ever make from that. Unless you're a brand that wants to partner, and
Same.
then
Actually,
yeah, exactly.
Actually, let me have my moment here and clarify to any of the haters that come at me that I'm an influencer. I also make $0
Correct. Like that is
off
not
of Instagram.
that is not what
So
I do. Like although for my house,
I would absolutely.
for my house, I did get money off my clothing
If I
for
could
one
keep
partnership
up-
one time, so I will rock
If
that
I
one
could keep
till.
up with it, I would
Shout out to
happily.
them.
but-
we did do HelloFresh.
Oh,
I love shout out HelloFresh. I love HelloFresh.
Well, that was like
in the past
5 years ago.
4 or 5 years.
Like 5 years
Like,
ago,
listen,
we
No,
were.
I'm still working with them right now.
Are you?
There we go.
It's great.
Correct. It is.
Understand.
That's what I want to talk
I
about.
know.
That's what I want to talk about. Like, if you have a platform,
This is not an
obviously
ad for HelloFresh,
brands
by the way.
will reach out. Brands will
But
reach
hit us
out
up if
regardless for a platform. I would be like, for example, and I'll just give you a story. I'm not an influencer. Do not credit myself to be an influencer at all. I was buying a new house, building a new house. I posted my design studio appointment, tagged the builder. They reached out and they're like, hey, do you want to do something
That is
for us?
awesome.
That's amazing. If
Yeah.
I said no to that, that would be ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? That would literally be ridiculous. But yet people are like, oh, wow, another house post, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's going
You would
to
do the
help-
same thing.
You would do the
You
same
would do
thing
the
if someone
same
was like, hey, and I did one for BJ's one time that they're like, hey, we will give you this much gift card to BJ's if you do this. Yeah, that's groceries for a month. So I'm going to do that. But it feels like it's held against you sometimes when like
Yes.
brands are seeking you to help them spread the message about whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously if it's not like authentic and it's like this random thing that doesn't fit with you,
Right.
whatever. Like the fruit was a stretch for me, but like, hey, free groceries, whatever. But things like that, do you feel like there's like a pressure of like when you're sharing things? And obviously now it's really like you have 2 jobs, right? You had your teaching career. That was a full-time job. And then influencing and people
It's a
have
lot
things
of
to say about
work.
it.
It's basically
It
It's a
is
lot of
so
work.
much work.
That's what I tell
Edits,
people.
refilms, messaging, like the content alone is so much work. And then you have to like promote it and you want it to do well, obviously, because that's a whole nother career. Do you feel like there's this like pressure?
You have to get
For that.
ready and
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell people that I have 2 full-time jobs,
Yeah, it's
teaching
true.
and social media. And is it as hard as teaching? Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. But it's still
Different
a lot of
challenges
time, a lot of
completely.
work. Yeah, because I do have a management team now, and so they'll try and text me during the day, and I'm like, I cannot answer this until 4:30. And then when I get home at 4:30, then it's this long list of, oh, I have to film this, I have to edit this, I have to send this to them, this, and so it really is. a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift now to the side of social media that we see a lot of, and I'm curious what you see of teacher shaming, teacher cancel culture, teacher bashing.
Oh my goodness.
What have you noticed? What have you can talk personally about what you've received,
Yeah.
what you've seen, and then we'll talk about the impact that also has. But
Yeah. So
Well, I think to start, we can go back where we started earlier, that people will say anything
Yes.
behind a keyboard.
what's
And
so terrible is that I feel like teachers are the worst on
Yeah.
social media. Like
I agree.
other
Can I
teachers
just
drag people
create
down.
2 categories.
Yeah.
And this is both. I identify with both of these, so
Okay.
I'm just calling myself and my people out.
Yeah.
Christians and teachers are by far 2 of the most judgmental
Yes.
people,
Yeah.
categories of people that I've ever
Yes.
come across.
100%.
Hate me
Say-
for
say-
it.
yeah.
Hate me for it.
I mean,
No.
it is
and I am both.
That's
of
your
those.
hot
correct, and you
take.
identify as
Both of
both.
those.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
that can be your hot take.
That's my hot take.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have seen, the good, the bad, and the ugly. If it's in a comment, I'll usually, comment back something really, really nice.
Yeah.
If they're like, your eyebrows are hideous, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much.
People will
That's
say
so
that
nice.
about appearance.
Oh, come on, Chris. Yes.
To be a female. To be a
Yeah.
female.
So
Used
first-
your name.
I
Come
mean,
on,
yeah,
Chris.
I'm surprised you say Christopher.
Yeah.
Like Christopher Paul.
The comments rarely happen because it's public,
Yeah.
But then the DMs, the worst thing that happens in the DMs is when someone is trying to send their friend
Oh, that has happened to
your
me too.
story, your Instagram
Yes.
story. So if I'm talking about Chris behind your back.
Yeah.
So I share Chris's story to Hope. And you, instead of replying to me like, oh my gosh, his shirt is so ugly, what is he doing?
You replied directly
You
to
replied directly
me.
to Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so people will do that all the time to me.
What? How does
And I'll
that-
just reply and be like,
Probably shouldn't be on social media if you
Yeah.
don't know how to use it.
yeah, I'm just like wrong person. LOL.
Yeah.
But then there's,
I've done that before in like text messages where I've caught myself like, oh, that was not very. I was talking about you. But I've learned my lesson
We've all-
many times,
yeah.
but back in the day.
I'm really big
knows the
into-
story
Chase is
that way.
laughing right
He's
now.
probably cackling because he knows the full story.
oh, we need
Oh, I can't tell that on the podcast.
He was in college. Just
Exactly.
He,
That's-
he learned.
they're not
Okay,
watching
you
the
two,
podcast.
you'll learn. You cannot get a word in edgewise with
interrupt.
these
Okay.
2. Yeah.
I block people so fast. If you say one negative thing, I'm like, oh, block, you're done, you're done.
Yeah.
So anyone that's mean, and I will say it's,
Did you do that at the beginning
Rarely.
of when you started receiving?
oh, at first I would like cry hysterically, screenshot it, send it to my mom, like, Mom, look what people are saying about me. Like, I'm the biggest people pleaser in the entire world. So
Yeah,
if
you are.
one person is hating on me, I'm like, the entire world is ending. And then, you know, there are entire websites about teacher
Which we're not going to
Instagram.
name. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're
No.
not sending anybody to
Correct.
our
No,
No.
and I used to be the type of person where I would post something and then I would read something about myself
Yep.
and I would go and I would delete the entire post.
Yep.
Because one
Wow.
person was like, she's trying to dress like her kids or whatever stupid thing that they say
Yeah.
that's not true. And so I just don't even look at any of that.
How
Good.
has that impacted you through the years?
Oh, I am. Right now, it's like the best thing ever. I just feel like I block out all of the hate. But at first, I could not handle it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would read the hate comments every single night before I went to sleep.
Yeah.
And it impacted what I posted on social media. And then I feel like I wasn't actually my true, authentic self.
Yeah, you're overthinking
I was trying to be what
everything.
everyone wanted me to be, which is not me at all. Which
Yeah.
It takes some time, I think.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I mean, this is something that I've never shared anywhere, really talked about much because there's never really been an appropriate place. It's so funny because I was talking to Lanisha and Amelia about this podcast, and I was like, I know in doing this, especially with some of the controversial topics we're going to receive or we're going to talk about, we're going to receive a lot of feedback in both directions. And they were like, well, how do you feel about that? And I'm like, if I'm being honest with you, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I could have never done this.
Same.
I could have never done this podcast because I'll take it back to 2020. And I think that what people don't realize is 2020 obviously was pandemic, right? COVID, everything happened.
oh yeah,
But when I tell you, I have never received so much hate in my entire life that it literally sent me into a depression where I could not crawl out of the bed. Wade thought many times that he was going to have to hospitalize me, that I had to get on extreme medication, not because of anything that was happening in my personal life, with my family, with anyone that I loved or cared about, but because of how many strangers thought it would be a good idea to bash, shame, corner, highlight, amplify every negative aspect of my life. That was my
and create false narratives
Yes,
and
as
that's
well.
the other thing, because then how do you defend yourself? Because by defending yourself, you look like the fool too.
because you're the one reading it.
Because you're
so
the
then-
one reading
Yep.
it. You don't want to give
Yep.
them the attention, but then it's like they're saying false things about you. That will go down in history as the worst year of my life. And I'm just like, and I know this is not just me. I mean, mine was so minor compared to what people get, I'm sure.
And
But-
we had a season
Same.
before that where we were warming up to that, but it was never to that extent. And so
But
it
I
wasn't the first.
could
it was just-
not. And in my mind, I'm going, the fact that these people can sleep with themselves at night
and that they're teachers.
and that they're
I don't
teachers and
don't get
impacting
it.
other kids.
I don't
And
know
don't
how
even
they're
call it advocacy. Stop
No.
calling it. It is not advocacy. It is jealousy. It is hurt people.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Misery
And
loves company.
Misery loves company.
It took me a long
and-
time to realize that it is something about them and they're projecting it on whoever they're commenting about rather than there's something wrong.
Because I'm sure, listen, what I just said, well, this is how sick people are. That's the only way I can call it. Whatever I just said, somebody's going to take that to one of our websites that we talk about. Oh, poor Hope. She was almost hospitalized. If you're saying that about another human, you are
Correct,
sick.
correct.
You need to be the
Yes.
one.
I
And
totally
people
to the
thrive
hospital.
off that. And
Oh,
it's
I mean, there are
disgusting.
to
It's
me,
disgusting.
there are
It's
so
wild to
many
me.
things written that are just absolutely not the truth at all. But then, like you said, if you go and you try and defend yourself, then you look like the silly person that you care so much that you're reading these comments about yourself on the internet. So
Exactly.
I will proudly say that I am sober from reading
Yeah,
negative
let's
things-
go.
negative things
Let's
for
go.
4 years.
Let's go.
Me
Four
too.
full years.
Yes.
And isn't it just the
Because
most
when I
freeing?
had that was my mom, that was my friends. They're like, this is
It's not healthy.
Yes, it's not good for you. It's not healthy for you. The things that they were saying, absolutely
Look at
terrible.
you thriving.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I just want to be like, you make a social media platform, you do these things, then you could get the same exact things.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's like the furniture that I got for my classroom, people had negative things to say about that, and I'm like, you would do the same thing for your students if you had the chance. So why don't you just do it? It
Also,
just-
you're not handed opportunities ever. Like
Yeah.
no one is just like, oh, here it is.
Here's
You have
free
done
stuff
something
now.
to work
Yeah.
for it.
You've earned
and
it.
that you've earned it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not just, oh, this is given to you, this is here. You've put in the work, you've put in the effort, you've put in the time, and this is the result. And
Yeah.
anyone is open to any opportunity for that. Whether it's kind of baffling to me that whether it's something you do in your classroom, something you post, something you wear, something you look like, a conference you put on, it never ends of the different
Yeah.
things. So like if you have this many like things to say about a person, like you are literally like an obsessed stalker of this
Yeah.
person now
Well,
that you have now given every area of that life.
And I just want to say, if you have something to say about me, why don't you just comment
Yeah.
publicly on my Instagram rather than going on an anonymous
Right.
post where
Yeah.
you don't-
Correct.
Yeah.
Like say
Well,
it,
and
literally
then for
say it to
them
my face.
Say, and then for them to say, well, they put their lives out here, so they.
Yeah.
I
okay.
hate
Again, that is another sick-minded
Yeah.
philosophy.
It's
I
a-
saw
it's a
something where it's like we
cop-out.
put 20% of our life online and people think they know 100%.
Yes.
Yes.
You know?
No. I put myself out there in hopes to help other people, in hopes to bring good to the world. What are you doing? Like what? Because there is nothing good that is coming from what you were doing. But anyways, we've given them enough of our time.
I give him my
So-
phone number and I tell him to call.
He does.
I-
well, actually,
They
we've done that
never
twice.
call
Well,
me.
and
We did that
I
quite a bit.
do want to say, like, you guys were seriously there for me during the hard times of all of that. And so I thank you guys and that because
We were
I was
in
not in the
different
right
seasons.
headspace.
Well,
Yeah, for a lot of that.
We had been there, and I
Yeah.
always said if I can help someone through what I've had to face, like that's why I went through it, and I think that's for anything in life. But I think this is important because I want to know, how did you get to this space? Because listen, I know we're talking about social media, but there are people who in their buildings have people who shame them, guilt them, make them feel like the smallest woman alive, the smallest man alive. Like, how did you get to a place where you are now? And I know a lot of it, listen, a lot of it does come with age. A lot of it comes
Yes.
with wisdom.
Yeah.
A lot of it
Of
comes with
course,
growth and maturity. But what would be your advice, or how did you get to where you are now, where you can just kind of let go of some of those things? And what would be your advice to someone who is a new teacher on social media who wants to put good into the world? Because I think that needs to be out there too.
Same.
That is receiving, everybody's going to go through it. When you put good into the world,
Literally every single person.
you're going to face that season.
Yes.
So
Well, we've just been talking about all the negatives, and I do really want to say that I feel like social media in my life has brought me way, way, way more positive things
same.
than the negative.
Yep.
First of all, but the negatives, they were bad. They were real negatives. But the positives definitely outweigh the negatives, and every single person is different, and everyone has their own story that needs to be shared. And everyone has things that they are really, really good at, and we need positive educators. And so we need the young teachers on social media sharing their energy to, help grow this profession. And so there are going to be hard days. There are going to be people who don't believe in you. You're going to be embarrassed at first when your hometown people start liking and commenting and watching your stuff, but we need you and we need your voice.
Yeah. And I think that it's just, again, it goes back to anything that we do. We just have to be so cautious of what we're curating, what we're putting in front of us, what we're listening to, what we're hearing. And there will also be seasons. Now, here's another thing is I used to feel like I can't step away from social media because if I take a break, then everybody's going to forget. And I haven't worked so hard for all of this and this platform and to share my message and all the things. And now I'm like, if it's not serving me, I'm done for a while.
And I do want to say that in my advisory class that we have once a week, we talk about social media for my students, like social media for kids and tips and tricks and bullying online and cyberbullying. And that's one of the lessons. And so when I share with my kids, like just some of the little tiny examples of cyberbullying that I've dealt with, they are shocked. They're like, people hate you. People say those things about you, Miss Bensko. And so having that real example to share with them and to talk them through how I dealt with that and how it made me feel and how I was really upset, but now I'm okay with it. That honestly was a huge connecting point with my students and is a really good talking point every single year.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that a lot of people, when we post this episode and just the topic of it and who the guest is, a lot of people are going to tune in with a lot of things to say. I'm just here to let you know it's never too late to change, change your direction in life and to do something positive with the information that you are given and to be better than you were yesterday. And it's never a mistake to be kind. And I think if you lead with that, then, a lot of those platforms that are if you're on one of those platforms,
I mean,
even if you're just going there for
minuscule
the tea,
compared to
even if
some
you're
of the
just
big
going
influencers.
there for the tea, I know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
you
don't
are
know
the
how they deal
sweetest,
with
most kind, generous, lovely person in the world.
I mean, I'm literally, I'm going to
it's-
watch the video back, but I was crying. It was like 2 minutes ago when you were like giving the everyone has a story, all this, because I have never, and we've been friends for 7+ years now. I'm tearing up again because I've never seen a more confident Josie than the person sitting on this couch right now.
Such an emotional guy.
In the most, I'm
Don't
very
do that.
emotional lately.
They have to redo their
I'm
makeup.
very
Stop.
emotional lately, but seriously, like just hearing like, and we've done it many times where we've just like,
Yeah.
not just as like on your platform, but like as friends and like very close friends through the pandemic. And after that, like I've never seen the human that you are sitting on here. So I'm proud of you. As
It's
a
not
friend.
just the blazer.
Not
It's
on the
not just the
podcast.
blazer.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not just the
it is
blazer.
not. You don't just look great, but
my
seriously,
dogs.
like
Yeah.
The dogs.
from a
It's
friend
the dogs
side,
that make it.
like,
It's the dogs for me.
and the thing with social media is these people are your friends, but we don't talk every single day.
Right.
Like
Right.
we check in here and there. That's how I'm with the majority of my friends. Like that's just like, it doesn't mean you're less of a friend, but it's there. But seriously, like I'm proud of you. I know Hope and Waiter could say the same as well, but you are doing incredible things for teachers, for education, and I'm just proud of you.
And
So
continue.
there's that.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
continue, because again, that's another thing that will just ruffle me to no end is why are we putting into this like, or again, cornering individuals to say that teachers are only in a classroom with a specific grade level of students. No, teachers are everywhere. And what you're going to be doing this year is going to impact kids in lots of ways to show them, to allow people to see themselves in STEM education,
Bring
to allow
joy.
them to see that might be an interest that they, pursue as they get older. That's an influencer. That's a teacher. And so I agree with Chris, though. It's so good to see. And I know you got a dog now and a house
And
and
a
a
man.
and all the things.
No ring.
But
Hey, not yet. Hey.
but just the confidence, I think. And, that's,
I feel like you have to go through some hard times
Yeah.
to get to the light.
You do.
For sure.
really
You do.
I
You do.
still,
If
I
you're
used
in
to
a
hate when
season
people would
of
say
it-
that.
It's
but
annoying
If
as
you're
Yeah.
in a season of
Oh my
it, if you're in a
gosh.
season of suck,
You
because
don't-
those
you
seasons
don't-
are the
yeah.
worst, and we've all been there.
Oh gosh, yes.
Just know that there is another side to that, and you've just got to stay the course, stay true to who you are. Know that nobody creates your narrative except for you, and that's one thing.
Curate your TikTok.
Curate your TikTok, but also
Curate your
who was it?
TikToks.
Maybe Tom Holland said, because he was asked
Yeah, it
about
is Tom Holland, yeah.
criticism, and he said, unless you have my phone number to text me, I give a care less about what you say.
Oh, I
And I'm like,
love
that.
that.
Is powerful.
Yeah.
I don't think
because-
it wasn't Tom Holland. I know exactly. Oh,
No,
Yeah,
it was Tom Holland.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was Tom. Yeah,
Oh, it was also
I'm sure a lot of people have
Bill,
said that.
Batman.
Well, he
Oh.
copied Tom Holland.
That's
don't
right.
think-
Everybody copies that.
Tom Holland. did
But
first.
I mean,
Don't
I
think
think
so,
that's
Batman.
also so powerful is to also look to your inner circle. If you are questioning your own narrative, because I know there were many times that I was like, wait, am I this bad, awful person? I don't know if you ever thought
Same.
that,
Mhm.
but I'm like, am I this bad, awful person that they say I am? That's when you have to rely on your circle who knows you the best. And it's not because my circle tells me what I want to hear. My circle's honest with me, but they
Yeah.
also know me at my core. Like, that's who I'm going to listen
You have to have morals and values.
Yeah.
Stay consistent with those as hard as.
Yeah. Well, Josie, first of all, just talking about social media, because we also know what you have been through, I think it's just brave, because anytime you put yourself out there, you're going to receive hate. And I'm so glad to know that now you've received that in such a different way. I couldn't have had you on this podcast either 5 years ago. I wouldn't have done it. I couldn't have had you on it.
We would
but-
just both be sitting here crying.
I don't think you would have said. I don't think you would have said yes 5 years
No,
ago. I think
no.
you would have been like, what do you mean? I don't know.
I mean,
about
people,
that.
random strangers. I remember my very first day at my current school. So this was 6 years ago. It was my first day of school, and I was so excited to be at this new school. My principal at the time was so excited about him. He came into my room and he was like, "Hey, Josie, can I talk to you?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" He goes, "I'm so excited to have you at our school. You're going to be a great addition. Some people from the internet emailed me about you," and I was like, I don't even know how they knew that I was at this new school.
What
Yeah.
are they doing with their time?
Yeah, just to say that they didn't think that I would be a
That
good
you need to be a
teacher
good
and I'm
teacher.
sharing
Oh,
too much on
my
social media.
word.
I'm like, yeah,
Wow. Well,
just another story.
look at you now.
Yeah.
And that's what I always say about all of it, because Get Your Teach On has also received lots of hate through the
Oh,
years.
people called my school and my front desk. For
So
many
this-
times
so-
about
They
things
also
we've
did
done
that. Yeah.
That I
Oh,
should
this
fire
is
from
all
my
the
school.
same time period.
This happened
Yeah.
at the same
Vegas,
time.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
I remember.
Yes, it was the same
Yeah.
time
It was
period.
yes.
Yes.
It was
Oh, yeah.
not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my front desk secretary, she's
But-
amazing. She's like, okay, and bye. And like every
But
single
look
time.
at what happens when you know your own morals and values, you rely on your inner circle and you stay true to who you are. There is nothing but that will come out of it except for you thriving. And I think we can all, Josie is thriving.
Yeah,
Get Your Teach
literally
On is
thriving.
thriving. Like,
Make that the name of the episode. Josie thrives.
Josie.
The one where Josie
No, we're all thriving.
The one
Okay, there
where
we go.
Josie thrives. I love
Yeah, there we go.
that.
I love a Friends reference.
I love that. That's perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, Josie. This is not going to be the last episode we'll have you. She'll be back, I'm sure, many times on the Flip Side couch. But also, stay tuned to the end after the credits. We're going to do a little bonus game,
All
lighten the
right.
mood a little bit on a
Ooh.
fun thing with Josie. So make sure you stick around to the end of the episode for an extra bonus feature. with Josie. But until then, make sure you check out new episodes of The Flip Side every Monday. You can watch the full live episode from in studio on YouTube or listen on any streaming platform. Now, this is your first episode, so at the end, I'm going to say catch you on that, and we all say flip side.
Oh,
Got
cute.
it? All right, so until next time, we will catch you on the
Flip side.
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
We are back for a bonus session at the end of the episode. If you stick around this long, thank you so much. We're going to play a game. It's called Your Top 4. Since this is social media, we're going back to like the MySpace days of like top 8, top 4. So I'm going to give you a topic and you have to give me your top 4 of that topic. Okay, ready? So the topic is going to be candy of this one. So who wants to go
favorite.
first? Top 4 candies.
I'll go.
Okay, Josie, go. Top 4 candies.
Sour strips.
Ooh, good one. What
That's
flavor?
number 4.
Oh, no. We're not.
We're overall.
I cannot do that. That's too much pressure.
Okay.
Too much pressure after that. Sour strips, sour Skittles, sour gummy worms,
Oh my gosh.
Snickers.
Oh, we had to
Snickers.
go. Chocolate in there. Oh man, I love candy so much.
Same. Oh, this is like the TikTok where you're like, I'm going to the party and I'm bringing sour
yeah,
Skittles.
like a
I'm going and
We
I'm
should have
bringing
candy
The
salad.
candy
That's what we
salad.
should have done.
Candy
We should've made
salad.
a
We should have
candy
done. After this, we're
salad
making a candy
next
salad.
time.
There we go.
Okay, Nerds Clusters definitely has to be on my list.
Silly.
Snickers for sure. Reese's Cups. And then,
Oh. Sorry.
do you know one for me? Okay. Oh, I know. Oh gosh, now I need 5. Laffy Taffy and Airheads, but those are kind of the same thing.
They are not the same thing.
No,
But oh my gosh, I love both.
Okay.
Oh, Laffy
Okay,
Taffy.
I'll go. Sour Patch Watermelon. Sour Sour Straws,
Guys and your
Strawberry.
sours.
I love sour.
Oh, so good. Swedish Fish. It's got to be
You
Swedish
do
Fish
love
up
Those
there.
taste like a wax.
He
I
loves
love them
those. He
so-
loves them.
I could eat a
He
whole
loves them. He
bag.
does.
And if I had to do chocolate Twix, but not chocolate, the gummy bears, but it's the ones that Amelia.
He's
It's
very
it's
specific about these.
the brand is an A. Alber
Oh, I don't know what that
Albernaise
is.
gummy bear. They're the ones with an A. And
Is
you can
that,
only,
is
can
that like
usually
the
find
ones
them
on the
in
airplane?
you can only get them in airports in
Yeah.
like Indiana, Ohio, like
Yeah.
there, but they are so delicious. But it has an A. It's a white bag, and there's a giant A. Amelia introduced me to them, and they are so good.
Yeah, I do love.
Wade doesn't even love candy.
I don't, but
He's
if
excited.
I do, peach rings.
He does.
Oh,
You don't like peach rings?
It's like my least favorite.
it's like
candy.
a
My
orange.
God.
Yeah, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
You ever had a no least favorite?
Have you had
are
sour peach rings? They're really good, actually.
No, I would like
Sour
those. Yeah.
Circus peanuts?
I love circus peanuts.
Those are
Unpopular
gross.
opinion.
Never had 'em.
Unpopular
Orange
opinion. Yes.
Brr.
I love them.
I don't
They
think
have to be fresh, like fresh and soft.
There's no such thing as a
Yes,
fresh
but you
because
squeeze
they're not
the
even
bag.
made.
I don't even think I've ever had
Me
them,
either.
but
I don't think so
the
either.
sight
We
of
should have
them.
done a taste
No,
test.
all right. So
They're
anyway,
good.
peach rings I do love. Sorry you don't like those. So then I guess I'll go with like Reese's cups. I love a Kit Kat. Ooh.
He does
Oh.
love Kit Kat.
Love
Break
Kit
me off a
Kat.
piece of that.
Snickers.
Yeah.
That's for
Break me up a piece of that Kit
Kit
Kat
Kat
bar. So
bar.
yours are more chocolate. Ours are like sour.
Mine's a combo.
Yours is a combo of, oh, yeah, perfect candy salad. Well,
There we go.
that was our top 4. Thank you guys so much for watching. What are your top 4? Let us know either in the comments or tag us on social. A new episode of Flipside airs every single Monday on YouTube or your listening platform. And until then, we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.